Hey guys, Saravanan Ganesh here. What if I told you that at 66 years old, with no digital marketing background, this man built a $20,000 a month income stream using just a laptop and a strategy that he learned in our community? In this interview, you will find how Gregg, after retirement, started getting into SEO and online marketing, and then went into what we call rank and rent, built out the websites, found the contractor, and even tracked every dollar to go from zero to $20,000 a month. He breaks this step by step in this video, literally in detail. He reveals the niche he is in, the exact process he goes and finds his EMDs, exact match domains, exact process how he finds the contractor, how he gives them some leads in the first place, and then how he even tracks every dollar, how his VA calls the contractor. Just mind blown. He gives it all away. If you are 40, 50, or even above 60, this may be the video that shows you it's not too late for you. Even if you're very brand new to search engine optimization or rank and rent or just online marketing, digital marketing, this video is going to show you how anything can be possible. But more importantly, it's going to give you a step-by-step blueprint how to get from zero to at least 10,000 a month. Watch the video. Awesome, we're recording. Awesome. So thank you, Gregg. I appreciate you jumping in. I'm honestly excited. I've seen your journey go from zero to 20,000 a month, just rank and rent, no clients. So I wanted to put together this video here, bring you, ask you questions, because a lot of people in the community are like, does rank and rent still work? All the questions, right? So let's start before, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before you got into SEO and online marketing and rank and rent? Like, what was your background? All of that, if you don't mind.
So I grew up in Connecticut, and then in 19, I think 81, 82, something like that, I graduated college. I had a degree in journalism, and I was going in like Manhattan, Boston, all these places trying to find writing jobs. Couldn't find anything. It was like, it was a horrible time. It was bad economy and stuff. So I had a buddy in Houston. He said, come down here. So I started looking for jobs in Houston. In the meantime, I was doing construction work. And then I tried Dallas, Austin. My first day in San Antonio, I landed a job as a copywriter for Dillard's, did that for a couple of years, then worked for a couple of years for an ad agency as a writer, doing speech writing and stuff like that. And then I went to work for one newspaper, a small newspaper in San Antonio. And when I got there the first day, I'm like, okay, what's your first writing assignment? And they were like, you're not going to be writing. I didn't tell you, I forgot to tell you you're going to be in sales. I'm like, sales? What, are you kidding me? I don't know how to sell anything. So for like a month, maybe actually it was around 3 months, I would just like walk around every place I could, from gas stations to buildings, and just say, you want to buy an ad? And they'd be like, no. So after like 3 months, they, the people, that the owners, had that little talk with me about, so I just said, man, I better, figure out how to do this. So I was driving by this bank, and I stopped in. I said, I want to talk to the president of the bank. And they were like, why? And I want to sell them an ad. And they're like, well, oh, and he actually came out. And so I said to him, I want to sell you an ad. He goes, that's a crazy thing. I was just about to call you. I wanted to put some ads in your paper. And from there, I said, I went on a journey, and I became like obsessed with anything to do with sales, and
Wow.
went to every sales seminar I could go to, every, back then, tape I could listen to, every book. And I've had the privilege of having lunch with guys like Brian Tracy, and I've spent a fair amount of time with Les Brown. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yep.
Jim Rohn.
Yep.
Spent some
Absolutely.
time with him, and spent a week with Zig Ziglar. So and then after that, I started moving up in the kind of the corporate world, because the company that I worked for, they started acquiring newspapers, and eventually they got 22 newspapers, their own presses, their own buildings, and stuff like that. And the guy who acquired it was also the chairman of the board and founder of Clear Channel, which was a Fortune 150 company. So this guy was a self-made billionaire and a Harvard MBA and stuff like that. And I worked for him. And I went from sales to like senior sales executive to assistant publisher, group publisher, and then director of sales, and which I oversaw like 70 salespeople. And then eventually I became chief operating officer of everything and had P&L responsibility for 25 different products, including our buildings, our presses, our newspapers, everything. It was like a $40 million budget I was responsible for.
Wow.
Hundreds of people.
Wow. So that's, you got into sales, you worked your way up all the way to the director of sales and chief COO. And then did you retire, or how did the
The
transition
company
from
got
that?
sold. So when it was sold, I had a contract to go with Hearst, which is another Fortune 100 company. But I really didn't want to stay with them because I was with Clear Channel, for like 26 years, and I always preached Hearst, particularly the one publication in our market in San Antonio called the Express News. So, it's like for 25 plus years, I'm preaching these guys at the evil empire. Then all of a sudden I join them and say, forget everything I said. So I was like, I'll go on my own. So I had a non-compete and I couldn't work for about a year, but I was okay because I got a good little exit. And then from there, I started my own media company, did that for about 8 years, and then got another exit. And then I saw the writing on the wall in terms of print media. So I started looking for different things. And as a side gig, I looked at the rank and rent, but also as my main job, I thought, I love landscaping. So I started a landscaping company, which I still have.
So when did you get into rank and rent and SEO and all that?
I would say maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
3 4 years ago. Okay. Was that, you just stumbled upon rank? I mean, nobody knows rank and rent. They go into SEO or online marketing, they stumble upon rank and rent, right?
I think I might have saw your videos or something. And I looked at a few different programs and I kind of liked your program. And, because everything was documented and it was, step by step. And, I like that. I come from that environment. And, you were able to help me a lot too, which, some of these other people, they're like, you're on your own, buddy. So, and I know sometimes I was a pain in the neck, but, you did help me. But so I heard about it, but from a technical standpoint, it was a little overwhelming to me. And it still is hard for me from a technical standpoint. What I've learned is you really don't have to know the technical part of it. If you could it's easier to find people who know the technical part than it is to find people who will do the sales.
That is so true.
So I took private lessons. I hired a tutor. But it's funny because like I could barely turn on a computer. And I think you know that about me. I'm probably the worst one ever. I'm sure and so I've got 5 kids, and they have a thing to like, Dad, when I call them, can you help me? They're like, remember, like March is my month to help you. They have this one help you. So every month my kids rotate on who helps me. And so anyway, so I mean, I don't think it's possible for anybody to be more technically incompetent than me. I don't think it's possible.
That is a crazy story. You are a self-confessed. I don't even know how to switch on a computer like that technically, like in your own
I'm
words.
that bad. You know that.
Yeah, so I'm curious. So 3, 4 years ago, you look into rank and rent. You jump. I remember you jump into my coaching program. You probably had doubts and skepticism, and it was overwhelming. Walk us through that, like your first few weeks or months as you were learning all this stuff, right? Just walk us through that journey a bit. Like I remember you jumping on coaching calls, asking questions, and then you would message me separately. All of that. How was that experience? Like learning something for the first time, being totally non-technical.
It was, I could tell most of the people that were in the coaching call,
Mhm.
they were so far ahead of me. Um, it was a little intimidating because I'm like, man, I don't think I could do this because they're so far ahead from a technical standpoint. And even though the information that you gave was very concise and clear, I needed to come up a level to be able to do it. But really, what it all boils down to is when the reasons are big enough, the facts don't matter. And so
Great point.
my reasons, as my reasons got bigger, the friction became smaller, and
Love it.
you'll find a way if you want to. And so I just got to the point, and what made me do it, I think, is my motivation is my grandkids. As you know, we've talked about that, and I stumbled across a guy who was in Rank and Rent, and now he does Facebook ads. And I'm like, what are you going to do with your sites? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, maybe I'll buy them from you. And so we went back and forth, and I went through my diligence. And I remember you helped me through that process and stuff. And I was almost about to say no, but I also felt like if I did it, and I spent $70,000 cash to buy these sites,
Mm.
but I said if I did it, I know that I'll at that point I can't turn back. And that was the impetus that said, this is the money I have for my grandkids.
Right.
I can't let them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know that's awesome. Let's take a step back because I remember you saying, how many grandkids do you have? 11, 14, something?
No, just four right now. I
Oh,
have
four grandkids?
five kids, but four
Five
grand.
kids for, because I
Yeah,
remember you saying you wanted to put one rank and rent asset website for each of your grandkids' college fund.
yeah. Well, more than that, I want to be able to be able to give them, like some of my children are fortunate in that they're very highly paid professionals, and so and their kids do have access to those things. But like my father, who had a heck of a lot more money than I do,
Mhm.
he left a legacy for his grandchildren. And what's really interesting is I'll go over like one of my kids' homes or something. They live all over the world, all over the country. There's always pictures of my dad everywhere, like and on their phone screensavers, and look, I mean, our time on Earth is limited, and the thing that I want to do is create memories with my
I love it.
grandchildren, and the other thing I want to do is leave a legacy, and this is my way of doing it.
I love that. That is so true. When the reasons are big enough, you'll figure the way out. So your first site that you ranked first, do you remember that? Or the first lead that you got, do you remember that? Do you?
Yeah. I mean, about 4 years, 3 or 4 years ago, you did a site for me. It was a fence site, and I
Mm,
did rank that, but I didn't really know as much as so. I only got like 400 and something bucks a month, and now that same site, I'm getting more than double on it because I just know better now.
right.
So, but then this guy that I purchased the sites from, he had about 89 sites. The bulk of them were in drainage, which I thought about it, and every niche has a plus and a minus. So, but the thing about this is, it's really untouched, and unlike, like, let's just say concrete in a major city, you're not going to rank. You could rank in a big city with drainage, and we're
Right,
doing it.
right.
We're doing it,
Yeah. Oh, I like your model where you started putting up a few sites. The first site was $400 a month. You rented it out to. You had a couple of sites. Then you went and bought these assets for one time. Yes, you paid $70,000. Not everyone may be able to do that, but that is smart because if you could do that, now this is cash flowing for almost forever,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So believe it or not, there wasn't a very little to any existing revenue, but I had a list of people who had already advertised and stuff like that, and so they were doing it differently. They were doing it just to, like, they were like, I'm going to bring cash in for the season and just run in. But for me, it's not just about cash, just it's about building a business. So with our model, what we do is this: being the one thing I can do. So okay, I work with a guy named Thomas. He happened to hit me up on, like, Facebook or something because I posted or something like that, and then he started doing a few things for me, and slowly but surely we developed a relationship. And at this point now, we're partners. And at this point in my life, I don't want to be the CEO or the COO of anything. So my role is I'm an advisor slash investor, but I don't work in the business. Now, I have sold about 3 or 4, 5 sites, and he sold the rest of them. So what we do is I pay him like a draw against commission, and I think it's around $4,500 a month I pay him, and we have enough to cover it with cash flow, and then from there he handles everything. I mean everything. So what our process is we have two VAs. One VA, she has certain criteria. So, like, we'll say, okay, here's the 89 sites. These are 5 we want you to work on. So the VA will go in, and we tell her the criteria is this to try to get people for trials. We want people who are advertising. We want people, we give her like 3 or 4 things. We tell her we're not looking for just money. We're looking for long-term clients to build a business. So then she will get, like, maybe a few people, and then, so say we have 5 sites, we'll get 5 people to put on trial at one time, and then if we have to, we'll run ads to them and stuff, and then once we get somebody, okay, we what we do is we have very, like, strict pricing. We don't say, like, for you it's 800, for you 1,200, for you. So we have like 3 different price strategies, just like, because we want to try to, like, make everything, like, standardized. So our basic plan is 1,500 a month, and then what we'll do is we take about $800 and put it into pay per click. We've tried Facebook, we've tried pay per click. We've gotten to the point where Thomas is so good and so dialed in, because it's really important when you have one niche, you could
Mhm.
really, really dial in on that one niche, because now your Facebook ads, you know how to work them. You know how to work your pay per click. You know how to rank everything. You know how to get
Right.
GMBs. You know how to do everything. So we know we could get leads from people. So then we start getting leads from people. We're not making very much, if anything. After, our overhead is paid, we're basically breaking even. So people are basically getting free. Then what we do, we have a process. The process is, it's like an assembly line. We go out, we get a GMB. Once we get the GMB, we optimize it. Once we optimize it, then we get reviews. Once we get reviews, then we have a thing called Uplift. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, what is that?
So what it is it's like this system where you're doing, this lady, she has a group of people, and she does surveys like all over the country in different cities. And then when she does the surveys, people have to come back to your GMB. What happens is they'll leave reviews on your GMB, but they interact quite a bit with your GMB. And when that happens, it signals Google that there's a lot of activity. People are really so between optimizing the GMB, the uplift, and then getting the GMB and doing a little bit more of, we'll do some other stuff like, citation, backlinks and content and stuff like that. What we figured out is 90% of everything we do, all our results come from anything around that GMB for local. That's what I figured out. You know a heck of a lot more than I do.
Right, yeah, absolutely. GMBs will bring you a lot more calls. Yes.
Yeah. So then once we rank the GMB and do all those things, all of a sudden we have great EMD, exact match domains and stuff. We do that. And then all of a sudden our paid leads are here and our organic are here. And then it goes like kind of like this. Once it gets to a certain point, we turn off the lights.
I love that system.
Yeah.
So let me just walk through this again, just so I understand, right? Yes, you bought the bulk of your portfolio from this one guy, right?
Yeah.
That was not bringing anywhere close to 20,000 a month when you bought them.
No revenue, none.
No revenue, zero revenue.
Yeah.
You still had to do the work.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
This is the process that I teach. The only difference that you've done is you've done it at scale.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You came more like an investor, you've done it at scale. There are people who are just starting out, take one, follow the process, right? Find the low-hanging niche. You actually are gracious enough to give away your niche, drainage, right? Every day we uncover so many different niches. Literally, the other day I was talking about basement waterproofing, right? Spray foam insulation, like so many niches out there. Nobody's in that. Find exact match domains in these cities. And then you went and you figured out to get GMBs. It's not easy. You still do that.
Very
Then
hard.
you follow the process of the reviews and the optimization and all that. And literally now it's like a digital real estate portfolio, right?
Yeah.
And that's an awesome point, because I tell people the holy grail of passive income is real estate. Everybody wants to buy real estate, a holy grail of passive income. That's a lot of work to buy a house, down payment, find a tenant, fix the toilet, all of that stuff. You got to do a little bit of work here too. It's not nothing. You have to do a little bit of work. But now you're what you, after paying your VAs and you have a partner, you have a pretty decent margin, I would think.
So what we do is we're looking for a 50% margin. I take 25%, he takes 25%.
Okay.
Of the 50%. So I take half of the, so let's just say our profit's $100. Okay. So he would take $50. I take $50, you see. So let's just say our top line revenue is $200, and our margin or profit margin is net margin is 50%. Then we just split that.
Okay.
But
so approximately out of 20,000 a month right now, is your margins 10,000 or more? Is it 50% or more right now?
No. It will be. So here's the thing. What we are doing is really working. So let's just say I have a drain company in Charlotte. I was paying. He was paying $1,600 a month. I don't know why $1,600, but we usually do $1,500. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So we were doing $800 a month in paid, and then we did the whole thing. We got a GMB and reviews, and I don't think we did the uplift, but and then within 2 months, he was number one. Yeah, and so we're getting them like. As Thomas says, can I use a bad word?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because Thomas says this thing is shitting leads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And he's paying
So
you. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so what we do then is we turn it off. But right now, like every month, when we get we try to get 2 to 3 new clients a month. But
Wow.
when we do that, what happens is there are costs associated with those new clients. Once we get to a certain number, what'll happen is A is you're going to have economies of scale, and B, what'll happen is, eventually we won't have to, get any more GMBs. We won't have to optimize anymore. We
Yeah.
won't have to get reviews. Then at that point, you know,
It'll
um,
probably be 90% margin at that point.
yeah, the margin, it'll never be 90 for us, but it'll be high. So
Yeah.
I have it broken it. I
Sure.
broke it down. So what we do is we do P&Ls every month.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have, we do P&Ls every month. And so we have the P&Ls broken down into like boxes, units. So we have G&A, general administrative cost, that can't go over 9%. And
Mhm.
then we have fulfillment, and that's, like ads and stuff like that. And
Right.
then we have research and development, which is the GMBs, et cetera. And all that combined is 50%.
Wow.
Exactly, 50%. So we know, like, if our G&A, like we just hired a VA, if our G&A is over 9%, then we got to figure out either our revenue is too low or we got to cut something back. So we measure everything.
Everything.
We
You are truly treating this like a business.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
That is so awesome. I see people all the time. It's like anything in life. You take it seriously, you focus on it, you treat it like a business. It's you put your focus, anything you put your focus on grows, right?
I agree.
Most of the time people are like quick money, or they are willing to invest and go for the 2 3 4 months of building it out and growing that, they treat it like a freelancer, not like a business. You
Right,
see that
right.
all the time.
Yeah, no, you got to burn your boat, man. You know,
Absolutely. I love
so
that.
so then at the end of the month, we get a set of P&Ls, and in the P&Ls we have budget versus actual. So we say, okay, we budgeted, for revenue this much, the actual was this much. If there's a difference, why? What happened? Well, let's go back and look at the sales metrics. So we have sales metrics. So we look at that. We say, well, the month before, you got in front of 20 people. You're supposed to get in front of 25. We only did 6 trials. We were supposed to do 8 trials. And so if you look at the sales metrics, that'll show exactly why, because look, as you do the work in June,
It's going
and then
to
in
complete
July
much
you'll
later.
see the
Yeah.
results. So we have lagging metrics. A lot of ours are lagging, but
Wow.
we have metrics also that show like forward. But
Wow.
so we know if there's a hole in our game, we've got the data to be able to analyze it and say,
Got it.
okay, how do we fix this?
Got it. Okay, this is truly awesome. Thanks for all the details. So you have a VA whose job is to call and identify a business owner, right? And then you will say, we'll give you a trial. Um, this VA who calls the business owner, do you already have a website and a GMB, or does she first identify a new company contractor in a new city and then you go do all the work?
We don't have a GMB most of the time, but we try not to invest into assets until we have revenue to justify that. So if we have like a website, but it's not ranking. So what we'll do is it's Thomas's sister. She'll call, and let's just say it's Connecticut Drain or something. So then we'll call a bunch of people, and then once we get a good person on trial that meets our criteria, then we have a full-time closer in Thomas, and then a part-time guy I'm not sure about this guy. You know, I don't think he's going to work out, but I'm looking for another person also. But so then Thomas closes the deal. I've closed, you know, the first 3 or 4 of them maybe, and then after that, I'm like, you know what? This is not duplicatable. I don't want this because I'm looking for passive income.
Right.
And so anyway, so I told Thomas, look, if we're making like 20 grand each, or if you're making 30 and I'm making 15, I'm happy. I don't care, you know,
Right.
because as long as I make my nut, I don't
Right.
care if you're making 40 and I'm making 15, because I want passivity. I want to be able to see my grandkids. That's, you know.
So this lady calls a contractor, let's say you only put an exact match domain, connecticutdrainage.com as an example. It's not ranking, it's not getting any calls, nothing.
Nothing. It might get one call a
One
month.
call or something. Okay, right? You call a contractor and do you sell a trials? What's the, do you say I'm going to give you a couple of leads? Is that the trial or is it like it's
Listen,
$89?
we have two different ways. So the first way is we do a trial, and with a trial, we'll give them all the leads we had from before, you know, and then we tell them these aren't going to be as good because they're a little aged, but then we'll give them, you know, 3 up to 5 leads. I was telling Thomas, like, I don't want to give the guy 9, 10, 15 leads and waste our time. It's like you're in or you're out. You know what I mean? So we give him 3 to 5 leads, and then we,
Using paid ads.
yes, we do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So invest a little bit into paid ads, generate the 3 to 5 leads. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. We use the paid ads, and then if we can't find somebody within a month, then we have to, you know, change direction and stuff. But you know, usually, you know,
Yeah.
we could get some. So that, yeah, Thomas does the closing and stuff. I've been on a couple closing calls with him too. Um, then another thing that we do. So like I met okay, so I have a guy in San Antonio I give some business to. He rents my fence site, and he's like, perfect example. You know, leverage, most of your business is going to come from your existing people, right? You've always taught me that.
Yep.
So he's like, listen, I do patio. I want to start doing, not patios, decks. So
Mhm.
we looked and we said, you know, Colton, look, it's too competitive. We can't do it for you. So Thomas came up with an idea. So what we're doing for this guy is we're going into like these little niche suburbs, which are like bedroom communities that have 30 to 40,000. They're very affluent, and we did the research. So we've got him 5 GMBs now, and we're putting up 5 sites with him with 5 GMBs. Right now, he's paying a couple grand a month in paid. We don't make much, if anything. I just pay Thomas to take care of it. But you know, but now he's starting to get organic leads. You know,
Got it.
so you know,
Yeah.
so that's what we do that as
Awesome.
well.
So you're going for the smaller niche suburbs around the bigger San Antonio area. Oh,
If we
that's
can't
smart.
rank something, yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
we try to stick to drainage because
Hmm.
we have scale in drainage. You
Yeah.
know, we know how to do the ads. You know, we're dialed in. We know how to do everything. You know,
Got it.
we've got it down. So what we're working on now is like eventually we want to start doing more paid ads like Facebook to get clients to come to us. So they raise their hand, because I think it'll be easier. And if they raise their hand, we think we're not going to have to do, we're not going to have to give them, you know, a trial.
Got it. So you put up the EMD, you find somebody for trial. The guy says, "Yeah, send it to me." You spend a few $100 to send 3 to 5 leads. He loves it. You think he's good at closing it, so you okay, it's a good fit. Then you get on a closing call, and then you close him on a 2,000 a month flat fee.
So here's what we do. We have like 3 levels. I think there's 1,000 strictly organic. You know, we do something. I think there's 1,500, and that eventually becomes organic, and then we'll do a 2,000, which is
Okay.
like a combination. So we have three.
Okay.
So what was your question? I'm sorry.
So when you close them for let's say he says, okay, I'll go for the 1,000 package. What do you do to continue the call so it justifies he's paying you 1,000 a month?
So yeah, what we do is, we so that's why we like one niche, because like number one, Thomas knows how to get leads for these guys for their trials
Right.
really cheap,
Mm,
because we're so dialed into this niche.
right.
Because like we've tried other niches and stuff. It's expensive to do these pay-per-click ads, because it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the negative keywords, and we're like, this doesn't work. And so now we stick to this because of the scale. So then now we start giving them leads, but paid ads, and we give them paid ads, and then and then at a certain point, when we do get a GMB and do all the stuff, and then we shut off the paid ads.
Got it. So then you keep doing some ads, he's happy, but you on the side, you're putting the organic to come up. And as those leads come up, you slowly bring these down. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like you have been following this process at a larger scale to the T, right? I've been teaching this for I don't know how many years now. Few people follow the process, but very few. I know you at 20K a month. I know another guy at about maybe 40, 50K a month. He's also, in his late 60s. It's crazy. And then I know one guy, he had put up a lot of GMBs when it was a lot more easier to put up GMBs 4 years ago, all in one niche. And then recently, maybe a year and a half ago, he, instead of doing rank and rent, he registered an LLC, his own company. He started taking all the calls from all over. He's got maybe 100 GMBs, I don't know, maybe a little bit more, right? All over the US. And he started taking the calls. He's got a couple of callers to take the inbound calls of all the leads coming in. And he was then subcontracted out.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
and last February or so, he messaged me, he's at 5.7 million last year revenue.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know his profit margins, but even if he made only $1 million profit, right? I
Yeah.
think it'd be something, right? So there's so many levels to this game. Absolutely,
Yeah. Well, one of the other things we do is we have metrics also for fulfillment. So it's like we know, because that's why we like having standard packages. 90% of our people are in the $1,500 a month. So we know if they're $1,500 a month, they should be getting X amount of leads. And if they're not, we look at their lead flow every month. And if they're getting over the metric, we let it go, management by
Got it.
exception. If they get under, then we say, okay, we got to do something else, get more reviews or whatever. So we measure everything.
This has been awesome. No, this is so good. Thank you for sharing everything openly, Greg. I know you're a guy you're abundant mentality. I know that. Like I mean, I know you for some time, right? You gave away your niche, your process. I am excited to take this and oh my God, I need to scale, right? One last question. After seeing all of this journey you've been in, the success you've seen, what's your advice to someone just starting out? Maybe the first one, two, three steps that you think they should focus on, or what do you think?
Yeah. So one of the things that, like, I was anticipating one of your questions about like, you know, um, getting started and stuff like that, and why you've had success. Look, I don't know anything more than I did when I first started learning the course. I really don't. I'm a business person. I know nothing about technical stuff. You know that. I'm going to tell you this. It's just like you could do it. I'm in a fortunate position that I could do this at scale. The problem with doing it at scale is there's a lot of delayed gratification because of how I'm doing it. So
Mm,
I'm willing to wait, but you could still do it, one at a time, and probably make more money than I do. But here's the thing: is like I'm not doing anything that you don't teach.
mm,
Every single thing I'm doing is exactly what you teach.
I love that.
So why didn't I do it 3 years ago? I wasn't ready. So I don't know anything different today. The only thing I know is my reasons today are bigger. So
Wow,
it's like, look, when the student is ready, the teacher
I
appears.
love that. That is so true. Yeah. Your reasons are more clear, it looked like, and that's when it took off, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
You know the story of burning your boat, right? You know that
Yep,
one.
yep, yep.
And I burned my
That's
boat.
exactly what you did. That's exactly what you did. Yep.
I have no way back.
Love
So
that.
yeah, but so the other guy is how old?
Who,
The other
sorry?
guy, you said he's how old is the other guy?
Rob, maybe 67, late 60s.
Okay,
He's in a mastermind. The one thing he said when he joined the mastermind was he's at 30K a month with rank and rent. This was about a year ago when he joined.
okay,
He said, I don't like to talk to businesses. I just want to have a set and forget. That's his model, right? But just like you, he monitors his numbers. He knows his sites, his
right,
contractors, the
yeah,
calls, all
yeah,
of that. He just wanted to put a system to go from 30K to 60K, basically double. So for him, we had to hire a couple of VAs and train them to be able to put up these websites. He was getting GMBs. This was a year ago, a little bit more easier. He was getting
yeah,
GMBs and he would do the sales. So we had to hire a couple of people, one web developer who would put the websites, one guy a little bit technical to do the linking and all that, and then a content writer and train them to put a system together, right? I think he's
yeah,
somewhere near 60 now, if not more, yeah,
yeah.
it's possible. Yeah.
So one last thing I
Sure.
wanted to mention, unless you have something else, but
Sure.
I know there's a group that they will do sales for you at 50%.
Okay.
And you know about that?
No.
Yeah, there's a group, and I could send you all the information,
Yes, please. Sure. Yes.
which is very high to me.
Wow.
And we looked into it. So they take 50%, but not only that, every month they take 50%.
Um,
So in a year or two, what we are planning to do is if this works out, once we get to around 50,000, we want to start saying, hey, as long as we've got a little sales team in place, we could leverage them. So we're gonna be able to share our salespeople with other
absolutely.
people.
I would be happy to have you. I know you're big on sales. You had a long career in sales. You oversaw 70 people or so in sales. You come and provide this as a service in my group, do training. I would love that, Greg. Absolutely. Everybody would
Yeah,
benefit from
yeah.
that.
We
Yeah.
want to do it so it's affordable to people, so they can actually make a living and stuff.
Love it.
So
Love it.
yeah.
Awesome. No, this has been so good. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Oh,
I
thank
always
you,
want to, sorry?
thank you.
No, no, no. Thank you again. I've been talking about you and your success for the last couple of months.
The old
Um,
guy.
yeah. People are going to love this video, especially when you go deeper into your process and also. So thank you again. Okay. Thanks
Thanks,
again, Greg.
Saravanan. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay.